Hey out there, everyone. Hope everyone's having a wonderful, blessed, dreadful day. Hope you guys living your best lives. Hope you all safe and well and healthy. So tonight I'll be talking about the beginning of my what if series between the 2010 Lakers and the 2020 Lakers. This video is going to be talking about their first round recaps. This video is going to be talking about the 2010 Lakers recap with their 4-2 first round series victory over the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2010. So pretty much I'm going to give some of my thoughts of some of my takeaways from watching the series. Regarding the 2010 Lakers, I was able to watch game, I think 1 and 2 like full videos, and then games 3 to 5 were just quick game highlights I had to watch, and I just had to kind of look back at the box score to help me remember kind of what I watched when I was younger. And then I was able to watch, I think, a full game 6 to end the series with the 2010 Lakers. So that being said, about the 2010 Lakers in honor of the What If series, rocking my Kareem Abdul-Jabbar jersey for this first round matchup. Talking about both the first round matches for 2010 Lakers and 2020 Lakers. Again, just focusing on the 2010 Lakers in this video in their 4-2 series win over the Oklahoma City Thunder in 2010. So that being said, let's talk about some of the takeaways from it. So the Lakers, they emphasized a 3-2 offense or a 4-1 offense. So the 4-1 offense was used more when he went into their kind of clutch time lineup, or sometimes when he went to a lineup in which he went more to the bench. Usually kept either Bynum or Gasol on in their clutch time lineup, which Oldham is the power forward. That's also the other time you would see it. And that lineup usually keep one person in the post, is usually the big, which was, for the most part, Paul Gasol or Andrew Bynum. Other times it was at times Kobe Bryant, because Kobe Bryant was very useful in using his post game in the post, and at that time you would have Gasol hang either top of the key or sometimes the perimeter to be a kind of pass outlet for Kobe, in which Kobe passed it back out to him, and Gasol would pass back out to back into Kobe, or he would get the ball somewhere else to somebody else on the offense. So, a little bit of a different way in this segment. It's about I didn't draw a perfect picture. I tried to draw a half court, so this is my half court drawing. So pretty much what I'm going to try to use this is kind of explain kind of what I saw. So the 4-1, like I said, pretty much the X is going to be the Lakers in this example. So when he ran their 4-1, right? This is kind of how it looked. So in this example, the big would be Gasol over here. Now, by the way, 2010 Lakers ran a triangle offense. So most of the time, there's always a triangle, someone involved. So you can see here, triangle involved, and when this would happen, so the ball came over here to this side, the big would move over here and create another triangle, and now as you can see, triangle. So there's always some kind of triangle involved in the triangle offense. Just want to make that clear. But 4-1, postman's here. This is either Kobe or Paul Gasol, right? Or Andrew Bynum when he went to their bench lineup. Usually when you get Gasol and Kobe rest, usually end of the first or the second kind of thing. So anyway, this is how the offense will look. One person will be out on the post, and then he has outlets outside of him. Usually, this was usually Ron Artest, because Ron Artest would come here and he would make cuts to the basket, in which Gasol or Kobe or someone was able to give him a pass. If Artest was out for some reason, sometimes this could have been Lamar Odom doing the same thing, at times cutting. If not, then you usually would have your athletic player like Shannon Brown sometimes here, Jordan Farmar, and I could go on and on about the 4-1. But the 4-1 mainly was used in the clutch time lineup. So again, this would be Artest. Kobe's usually over here near the ball with Fisher, and then Odom's usually here for the 3. That's kind of how that worked out. Now, they didn't use a 4-1. They ran a 3-2. 3-2 is pretty much the same thing. Only difference is, it really doesn't matter exactly where the other player is. So I'm going to kind of draw how it somewhat looked like, but it really was movement here, more movement here. So 3-2, you kind of have 2 postmen. Now, obviously, only offensive player, I think it's 8 seconds. 8 seconds or 3 seconds. I forget what the offensive rule is, but pretty much one offensive player would come in here, and then the second one he would try post up too. So this happened a lot early on in games in the series. So early on in games in the series, they would try to feed the bigs early. So they try to feed Paul Gasol and Andrew Bynum early. So Andrew Bynum and Paul Gasol both would technically post up, but so they wanted to get the offensive penalty for being too long in the paint. They would come in, right, the ball. So let's say Paul Gasol is here, and this is Kobe and Fisher, right? And then we just have our test over here, right? So triangle's working over here, right? Paul Gasol, right? So now let's say the defensive player, which are most times guarded Paul Gasol in the series, would either be a Jeff Green, your Kristich, or Nick Collison, and Serge Ibaka. I'm trying to think the other person. Sometimes it was even Kevin Durant at times, but Kevin Durant was at this time very thin. Not very thin, but he was thin, so he couldn't really guard the big too long, as he can kind of now. So pretty much, let's just say for whatever reason, whoever's guarding Paul Gasol fronts him very well, Andrew Bynum very well. They would move the ball around and try to work the triangle on the opposite side. So that's why I say, though, I have your wings here, right? Your wing could either move here to here, here to here. Same thing with Fisher. Fisher could be here at the top, and then he can move here or move here, pretty much. And in this big, he's kind of floating either in here, coming back out to not create so much double attention for the big here trying to work. So that being said, triangle's working right here offensively, 3-2. Even now, even sometimes, like I said, most of the time this is feeding the big early to get Paul Gasol and Andrew Bynum going early, which kind of fed them to get a lot of double-doubles, because this is also where you go to work and then you get extra boards offensively. If their basket didn't go on the first time attempt. This happened a lot in the series, by the way. So if this wasn't Bynum or Gasol, let's say one of them was out, this could be Kobe or Artest posting up, or Odom posting up, and the same kind of movement. Then you would kind of just have extra guards. So sometimes, most of the time when you ran this, the extra guard would be a Shannon Brown with Fisher and an Artest, or Shannon Brown with a Fisher. So it would be like Kobe, Shannon Brown, Fisher, and then you have Odom or Artest, or you have Artest, Kobe, and then you have a big guard in a Shannon Brown or Jordan Farmar. Shannon Brown really was a big guard to use. Jordan Farmar was kind of just used as a pesky defender in this series, and he got it going at times to replace Fisher as a good defender that also could score the basket at times to keep up with Westbrook. Not to digress though from this point, but just pretty much so you guys know, 3-2. That's how they kind of used 3-2 to feed the bigs early. And then if it wasn't Bynum, Gasol posting at the same time, you usually have an Artest posting up at times or Kobe posting up times. Mainly Kobe, if I'm being honest with you. Odom Artest didn't post up too much. He would be more face-up players. Or if they did post up, it was kind of from them setting it early. Most of the time, though, they kind of just got hustle baskets. A lot of time, Odom was just facing up against where he wanted to work. Artest was more hustle. He would cut at the right time to get the ball given to him. Sometimes he did post up, though. Kobe was more the post-up player in this scenario in the 3-2 outside of Bynum and Paul Gasol. Okay, so that being said, that's kind of how their offense ran. 4-1 was more of a motion. 3-2 was more posting up the bigs, get them involved early in the triangle. Problem sometimes with the 4-1, which I talked about before, was some issues with the 4-1 was when the ball went to Kobe in the post, it kind of was the offense was kind of just watching Kobe go to work, and then sometimes he wouldn't always keep the motion going outside of Kobe. So Kobe missed a basket sometimes. If someone wasn't in the paint, this is kind of where they got in trouble defensively with the transition offense against them. So if Artest wasn't cutting in the paint when Kobe went to take his shot, which that's what was happening most of the time, or Paul Gasol for a reason wasn't diving when Kobe put his shot up, they weren't getting offensive rebounds, and this is kind of what caused a lot of the issues in transition. So that being said, Lakers did play extra defense in this series. He had a couple 24-second violations on Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, let me be honest with you. Watching this series all together and going back, I want to be honest when I say this. Defense back in 10 years ago to nowadays is completely different. There was a lot more defense, a lot more physical play, which I'm sure wasn't the same as it was in 2000s or 90s, prior to 2010s. But 2010 defense and just watching the game, makes me miss it a bit because there's a lot less complaining, and a lot more um, physical play and beating your man and more technique being used. Not saying there's not technique being used now, but I do believe there's so much catered to the offense that players are able to get away from kind of asserting the will at times. But I don't know if I'm saying that right, so I want to offend any current basketball players. So with that being said, let's continue. Some of my other points, like I said, excellent defense. Westbrook did kill the Lakers in transition. So this is why I'm talking about the 4-1. So when the ball watching happened, right? What would happen was Westbrook would get the rebound in these situations on the 4-1 or any other shot in which their offense wasn't really ran in a perfect way or ball watching kind of way. So Westbrook would get the rebound, and it kind of, I can't remember if he clicked this in at the end of like second half of game 1, or if this was something he got going in game 2. I forget which one he actually got that going. I want to say it might have been game 2 anyway. Anyway, Westbrook got his would get the rebound. He would attack early in transition, usually within the first 8 baskets, and this is usually when the Thunder excelled, when he scored within the first 8 baskets, whether that was in half court settings or fast break settings. Westbrook got the ball, got in transition, and Derek Fisher struggled a lot in transition and guarding Russell Westbrook on fast breaks, and that's kind of how the Thunder kept themselves alive and competitive and took advantage of Lakers in some games in the 2 games he won in the series, and how he stayed competitive in the games he kept close in the series. So the adjustment that did come from that though was Kobe Bryant game, because it was 2 games won by Lakers at home and 2 games won by Thunder in games 3 and 4. Game 5, Kobe Bryant guarded Russell Westbrook, made more of a jump shooter, prevented a lot of those fast break scorings for the majority of the game, and that was the adjustment made in Game 5 that led to the Lakers' victory in Game 5, which was a big win, which I'll get into later. Other takeaway, Durant, first couple games, I want to say mainly Game 1, he did struggle with the physical defense of Ron Artest. And I want to say the first 2 games, Ron Artest did a very good job body up Kevin Durant, making him shoot over the top of him, getting a hand in his face when he took his shots, and also being a pest on defense, getting a lot of steals created off of picking the ball from Kevin Durant, either whether it was on all man on ball defense, which means Artest is either guard him in the post or guard him face up, or it was when Kevin Durant would get past Ron Artest a lot of times would come around and hit the ball from the back, in which KD thought he blew by him. But Ron Artest's defensive savvy came around the back, picked the ball out from the back, and which led to a lot of fast breaks. So Ron Artest to me did a very good job guarding, particularly the first 2 games. But Kevin Durant did eat later on in the series once he got adjusted to how Ron Artest was guarding him. The reason I say Ron Artest, we all know he's a meta world piece now, but in 2010 he's Ron Artest. So, that being said, next point, I'm just going to try and explain kind of the skill sets I got from the key Lakers players, each key Laker player in this series. I'm going to start from kind of the easy one to talk about and then kind of jump from there. So Luke Walden, in this series, he was mainly a good passer. His IQ was really his most quality skill. He didn't do a lot of scoring in this series, not a lot of defense. Really, with his IQ and knowing where to be and passing the ball to the player at the right time, that's what his most useful aspect in this series. Shannon Brown, athletic guard, that was his biggest pet peeve. This series, he was a little bit banged up and injured coming to the series, but his main ability was being a big body guard to stay on Russell Westbrook at times. Other than that, his athleticism and scoring, which he had a couple of big games scoring this series, but also, like always, rebounding the ball or getting up for a dunk or ollie. That's kind of his athleticism was his biggest key. Jordan Farmar, big pest defensively. Very good again in the passing lanes defensively. Very good in getting ball handlers frustrated by playing, I would kind of say pesky physical I wouldn't really say more physical, but it was kind of pesky, in-your-face defense, make you frustrated. And then when he got it going from the 3-point arc when he came off the bench in a couple games, that's kind of was his biggest aspect. But he was just a very agile, quick guard, up and down the court, allowing him to run a lot of fast breaks and keep up pace tempo for the Lakers off the bench. Andrew Bynum, very good. As they called him and Gasol the Twin Towers, so him and Gasol were both very good at getting offensive rebounds and getting rebounds in general. A lot of these games in this series, he finished with double-doubles for the majority. And then Bynum was able to post up, had good footwork, worked with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I think trained him beginning of the season or during his career in the Lakers, and that's kind of where you see a lot of his footwork in the post, in which he was able to score and get baskets for the Lakers. Especially, it was very big for when he to give Gasol a rest. He was just still able to get it big to get his offense going in the post effectively. Pau Gasol, really not much to talk about Pau Gasol. And Bynum was very good as a very good help defender blocker. I forgot to say that. Very good help defender blocker. Pau Gasol is the same kind of thing. Very good help defender blocker. Very good in the post. He was also very good at facing up and shooting a lot of the mid-range shots in this series. And then IQ and passing the ball. A very good passer was Pau Gasol. Lamar Odom. For a big, this is kind of where my idea generally of a point forward came from. Current times. Off the bench, point forward was Lamar Odom. He was kind of the idea for point forward. I know a lot of times when people think point forward, they think LeBron James. But LeBron, point forward kind of person that comes to mind was Lamar Odom. Very good at setting the offense when Kobe, Fisher are on the bench. Very good ball handler. Able to face people up from the top of the key and take them to drive. Also able to knock down a couple threes. He didn't shoot threes completely consistent in this series, but there was a couple games he was able to get the three-point shot going. And then that was a scorer off the bench that was versatile with his ball handling skills and very good passer. Off of his dive in to the rim and able to pass out once he got attention. And at times in this series, he was able to get on the boards too as well. Artest, hustle. Very good defender, first of all. Did a great job on Kevin Durant to me in this series. And then he was a very good hustle player. Hustle and dive at the right time. There was, I believe it was game... can't remember it was game... No, was it game 6? Because I was Gasol. But I want to say maybe it was game 2. There was one of the game in this series in which a shot went up, and I think Artest ended up being there at the right time to get the putback. Which put them up, I believe, by 2 or 3. So, Artest, very good hustle player. Cuts at the right time. Gets good boards. Make sure my phone don't slip. Hit it wrong a couple times. Anyway, hustle a lot of times to get baskets when cutting at the right time offensively when attention was drawn to Kobe or Pau Gasol. And in that, he did dive a couple times to the rim through his offense from the post. And then pass out to big like Bynum or Gasol at times, or got the ball back at the Kobe. And then he was able to hit clutch threes in this series. Wasn't a great three-point shooter either for the Lakers this series, but he did hit a lot of clutch baskets from the three-point range when he had to. And it was other times, of course, when he missed. But for the most part, I thought when I think his three-point shooting in the series, it was clutch baskets when he hit them. Next player, let's talk about Derek Fisher. Derek Fisher, very smart player. Could frustrate Westbrook a couple times, getting good fouls. Fouls of Westbrook from frustration. IQ was his main ability. Was a big guard, able to get in the chest of Westbrook and the defender, and then you push off of him. He would try to create offensive charges or fouls off of that to get the referee to call a foul kind of player. Other than that, clutch three-point shooter, and outside of that, he would hit a lot. His offensive ability was mainly set up the offense in the triangle, and then if not, he was hitting jumpers from mid-range or three-point, and the three-points were really clutch baskets, which is really what you think of Derek Fisher as a clutch three-point shooter for the Lakers in his history. Kobe Bryant, nothing really much to say about Kobe Bryant. The X factor of this team, Mamba mentality, score at will whenever he wanted. Just a couple of series where he struggled from the field, even though he still got, his point total that he was supposed to get. But when he went for his 30s plus in this series, it was very hard to beat the Lakers. And I think that's it regarding Kobe. And then, like I said, he guarded Westbrook in Game 5, and that kind of changed the series in the last 2 games. Him guarding Westbrook, getting Westbrook to work a little bit harder and shoot more, not get easy offense, was the change in these last 2 games in the series. So, like I said before, Gasol, Bynum, excellent rebounders, and very good help blockers, and that's why they kind of call them the Twin Towers in LA. Bench was inconsistent in this series for the Lakers. There was games where they were very good, Odom, Farmar, and Brown, or a combination of Odom with Farmar and Brown. And then there was games where you watching this offense, once Kobe then went off, you watched this bench unit, and the ball wasn't going to Bynum, They looked very out of sync, out of order, like not knowing how to run or keep their offense in rhythm. That's kind of what I saw with the bench. That's why I said they were inconsistent in the series. Now, let's talk about the Lakers' defense. And this is kind of what both teams ran, in my opinion. And I really believe that both defense ran at 3-2. And when I really think about it, had time to think about it, I really think the 2020 Lakers were very similar in build and how they played to the 2010 Lakers. But when I talk about that at the end of my breakdown, who I think would win this series, I'll talk about the similarities more then. So right now, let's talk about their 2-3 defense. So I'm going to set them up again. I'm going to just play the Lakers in X's. Okay, so, and it wasn't that they ran a 2-3 zone, though it really looked like it, if I'm being honest with you, because everyone kind of had a man, if I'm being completely honest. But this is what I mean. So, Lakers ran a 2-3 zone. So, usually, beginning of the series, this could either been Kobe and Artest. Not Kobe and Artest. Artest and Fisher. That's what it was majority series. Kobe Bryant really hung here, and I'll explain to you why that was him. And then you would have your bigs and Gasol and Bynum over here as help blockers. Or sometimes this would be Artest, and then you just switch Artest with Kobe. That's pretty much straightforward. I'm not going to go too much into that. Reasons why. So at the top of the key in this series, majority of the time, you had Cephalosha was really at the key. So the Krisic was usually in the middle, guarded by Bynum or Gasol for the most part. Your wing over here for the most part was Cephalosha or Green. That's usually who kind of hung out for the Thunder. When you mix up other offense, Serge Ibaka and other people, and then they were more in the paint, Serge and Collison with Krisic, or Collison and Ibaka together. But I'm just kind of focus on the stars right now. So, Green and Cephalosha is really out on the wing for threes. Westbrook was either, hanging around the perimeter here, trying to get the ball and quickly run his offense into the paint. And then Kevin Durant was usually at the top of the key to get the ball from Westbrook or vice versa. Or he would get screens set and he would come around here, get a shot somewhere here in the paint, or around here around the 3-point range on either side. Westbrook generally would get his shots moving here in the paint or drive very quickly. And then, like I said, Green and them would mix up, posting up. At times, Cephalosha really either cut, but for the most part, Cephalosha really just stayed out there as a shooter, which was kind of a liability. And then Green was inconsistent at times in the series, so sometimes even him at 3 was a liability, but he did get it going at times. Then you had your big Krisic, which he got it going late in the series. So pretty much is what I'm trying to say. Bynum and Gasol helped out as great rim protectors. So when Kevin Durant, Westbrook, or someone else died, he was able to come into the paint from here and helped out. The person here did not stay here all the time. A lot of the times they were following. So Artest would be following the KD here, or Kobe would be following Cephalosha as he kind of flowed through the offense at times to set screens or get his shot at the wing. But in general, the reason I would say this: the Lakers always ended up once the shot went up in this situation, and this was generally Kobe here with Gasol and Bynum, or it was Odom, Kobe, Gasol, or sometimes, like I said, just mix Artest in there. But when they end up getting rebounds, is how it looked from the defensive end. So I'm not saying the defensive end necessarily was the person starting here the entire time. They kind of was following the wing, but by the time the rebound and shot went up, this is how they ended. Why? Great rebounders in your bigs and Bynum and Gasol. Odom even too was able to be a good rebounder. But the main reason for this, Cephalosha and Green were not consistent at shooting 3-point shots. So Kobe Bryant, Ron Artest, mainly Kobe Bryant, or Derek Fisher, who was off, whoever was off Westbrook was on Cephalosha. They did not fear the 3-point shot from Green, and he did not fear the 3-point shot from Cephalosha. So they were just hanging out here and help defend once Westbrook or KD died, and they would get the rebound and start running their offense and set up in half court. You're really only able to get away with this defense. I shouldn't say only able, but the reason he was able to get away with this defense, this series so much, was because Cephalosha was not able to knock down his 3-point shots, and Green was not able to knock down his 3-point shots. Now, when they were able to get 3-point shots from like a James Harden, and when Green was able to get it going in this series, it made it very hard for the Lakers to keep this entire thing effectively. Then we have to start chasing defenders, and then this 2-3 kind of look was not set. And this is kind of why at times he got beat off of what I would say was miscommunication a lot of times in this series defensively. So that was one of the takeaways from that series for me. The 2-3 worked a lot when bad shooting from the 3-point range, but when it was going, it made it difficult in the games he did lose in this series. Lakers get great effort on loose balls and defensive effort in the games he kind of took over. And I believe these were games when he forced physical defense early and their will early and reminded them that, hey, we're the reigning defending champions to the Thunder. Kobe and Gasol did a very good pick and roll offense in which Kobe would draw the attention and pass it to Gasol in between defenders. Very good. If you watch, Kobe and Gasol play, you know what I'm talking about. Bynum, at times he would over dribble. So if Bynum put the ball on the floor too long at times, or tried to get too cute with it, he did get a lot of turnovers, and it's when he got traveling or double dribble sometimes. So Bynum was very good most of the time when he was able to catch the ball, keep it high, take kind of one dribble and quick moves and put it up, or keep the ball high, turn around, put it up right away. That's when Bynum was most effective to me from the paint. Lakers in the games, like I said, this is really more tackle on the bench, but there was a couple of games he got very sloppy and turnovers, and this is when the communication of where players had to be was off. And this is also, like I said, when Kobe didn't come off and the second unit came on the bench, they looked very disorganized and not really knowing how to set up a play and where to put players going. Now, when he got it going, that's when either Farmer or Brown had a big game, and then he did set offensive plays in the second unit with Oldham. But there were times when Lakers' offensive games that they lost to Thunder had a lot of turnovers and were very sloppy. Pretty much, I think all players in this lineup had great IQ. I think this comes when you have team chemistry, you play together for a long period of time. So there were times where, Artest, Walton, Farmer, Brown, and Bynum, they were able to pass the ball to Kobe or Paul Gasol at right times. Or if they were driving the paint and they draw attention, they passed it out, made the right plays. But they were very good. I thought the entire team was good passers, in my opinion. I think your really quality, great IQ passers was Oldham, Kobe, Gasol, and Fisher. I think those are the players that you really ran the offense through. So they ran the offense through Oldham, Kobe, Gasol, and Fisher. So those players were very high IQ passers. But outside of that, triangle, you keep the ball moving. And I thought when he kept the ball moving, Farmer, Artest, Brown, Bynum, even at times there was one game in the series in which Bynum was drawing attention in the post, and he made great passes, I thought, to the diving cutter in Artest or to Pau Gasol when he dived. And then the other one, Luke Walton, made a couple good passes when he did get his little bit of time in the series. So those are all my takeaways. Mainly just talking about the Oklahoma City Thunder very quickly. This was a young OK3. So Harden, Westbrook, and KD had yet to this is their first playoff series, by the way. Scott Brooks got Coach of the Year, so this is the first year he made the playoffs. Very young and hungry, but inexperience is clearly what showed to me in this series. But when they got going, the three of them, they were very hard to beat. And the games that they won in this series, all three of them got going for those games that they won. And Harden really was the missing piece, like I said, in the perimeter shooting that they needed. And when he got it going off the bench, those were the games he kind of dominated or won in clutch moments. So that being said, young team overall, had a KD, Westbrook, Harden. The bigs were Christian, Collison, and Ibaka. And the other players was Jeff Green, young Eric Maynor, and a young Thabo Cephalosha. Cephalosha was mainly defender. Green was like a defender and also stretch four. Maynor was not fully versatile Eric Maynor yet. This to me was young Eric Maynor. He had yet to have that full impact off the bench to me in this series. I didn't see that. I think this was pretty successful playoff Eric Maynor, if you get one. That's kind of what I'm getting at. Collison too was very young. Ibaka flashed. This was his, I think, rookie year. He flashed though in this series to me. Christian got it going at times late in the series. I would say early in the season. I would say more his production came late in the series. I think Game 5, Game 6. and then Game 6 mainly. And then KD got it going. Sure got time artist, but got it going majority series. Westbrook killing transition the entire series. Harden had a couple good games off the bench when he got his scoring going, which made a big difference for the Oklahoma City Thunder. First game, pretty much it ended 87-79. Bynum, Gasol killed pretty much. Bynum and Gasol killed this game. They both finished with double doubles. They had 7 blocks altogether. Altogether, the stat line was 32 points, 25 rebounds, and 7 blocks. That's what the Twin Towers did. Kobe Bryant had shot 6 for 19, but had 21 points in this game that they won. Game 2, Kobe Bryant went off, had 39 points. So 12 for 18 from the field, and was 13-15 from the free throw line. Gasol, 25 plus points, 10 rebounds. I think his stat line was around that. If not exactly that. This game, they won to close to 95-92. I would say this is a game that Artest made a clutch basket from cutting late somehow. And then we go Game 3, Game 4, Oklahoma City. These are the games I kind of just had to recap and look at the stat lines. Game 3, 4, and 5. Big 3 dominated. KD, double-double, 29 points, 19 rebounds. Westbrook had a 27 and 8 rebound game. Harden had 18 points off the bench. This game they won 101-96. Game 4, Oklahoma City Thunder dominated, won this game 110-89. They out-hustled the Lakers in all the highlight plays I saw defensively. Got fast breaks going early to KD and Westbrook. A lot of dunks in this game off of fast breaks and a lot of turnovers by sloppy Laker play. And the Lakers had never had a chance, and the Oklahoma City Thunder showed that young lion took over early and attacked the old line. And kind of showed, hey, we were for real when we were here. And I think Game 5, Lakers woke up. Again, great double-double game here by the Twin Towers. Gasol had 25 points, 11 rebounds. Bynum had 21 points, 11 rebounds. And this is when Kobe didn't have a great stat line scoring in this game, but his focus, and this is why I get upset when people compare like a Devin Booker to Kobe Bryant, say, hey, second coming of Kobe Bryant. I understand giving love to Devin Booker's a big Kobe Bryant fan and giving love to his scoring ability and how he, was a big fan of Kobe and how Kobe's motivation to him inspired his play. But we forget when we make these comparisons. I forget what the picture was, but it was like, I think Mitchell, Brooks. I'm not trying to digress too much, but it was only because it nudges me a bit. It was like Mitchell, Booker, Luka, and there was somebody else. I can't remember. But he tried to compare him to like Dwayne Wade, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. And when people say that, if I find a picture, I'll post it in somewhere saved on my phone. But when I say that, the reason I bring this up is because me and the pause when we do that. Because when you guys talk about, I understand offensively how these players might remind you of how these people play offensively, but you guys take a lot of credit away for how great defenders Kobe Bryant was, Dwayne Wade was, and LeBron James was when he was at his prime. I know we start forgetting about LeBron James because he takes off on defense and picks his time to play defense now because he's older. But LeBron James in Miami, Dwayne Wade, his entire time in Miami, for the most part, till late in his career, and Kobe Bryant pretty much his majority of his Laker career, these are all defensive team defenders. Let's not disrespect them. Anyway, sorry for digression. But Kobe Bryant, I can pay respect to him, all defensive player in 2010, made the adjustment to say, Fisher, I got Russell Westbrook this game. And he made Russell Westbrook struggle, and this is why the Lakers end up blowing out the Thunder in this game, 111-87, because that adjustment the Thunder was not ready for, which made Westbrook be more of a jump shooter than what he liked doing, getting to the paint and fast break. Now, Game 6, and by the way, that was my other point in Lakers. Phil Jackson made great adjustments, not only to me in timeouts in this series, but game to game in this series, for the most part. And he kind of he made the adjustment, he let his players do his thing. And when his players were not doing what they had to do on the court or communicating the way they were supposed to, he let them play through that and listen, this is on you guys, learn from it, and we make adjustments in the next game. And he kind of let his players coach themselves on the court. And that's showing of a great coach, when you are a good coach, but you also let your players coach themselves through situations. So, just give love to Phil Jackson there. Last game, Game 6 is which clinched the series for Lakers. 95-94. This, by the way, Game 6 was a great game. I watched the full game. I found it on YouTube, the full game. That was a great game from beginning to end. KD got it going. Kobe got it going. It was a great duel by Kobe and KD. Kobe finished with 32. It was an ugly win, in my opinion. The way the game ended was, I think Kobe missed a shot. Paul Gasol was there at the right time to get the offensive rebound and a putback, which killed them all series. Him and Bynum with offensive rebounds. And he got the offensive putback with 0.5 seconds left. And this was a game in which I beat the Lakers led early. Oklahoma City came back, hung around KD. KD and Kobe went back constantly. Very good defensive game to me. That was my biggest takeaway. I love defensive battles in both. We're talking about basketball, so I'm focused on basketball. Obviously, I was a football player, I was a defensive player, so I love defensive battle, football, and basketball. But basketball, this is a good game to see. Offensive players get it going, but also good defensive battle at the same time. Because it's kind of like you struggle so much defensively that when the offensive player, KD, Kobe Bryant, got it going, it was like to uplift the team. Because you went for droughts, and then when this player got the ball, he got it going. And he was just killing the opposing defense. So I loved the game overall. It's good to go back and watch basketball like that. So, not to digress. So, yeah, that was my takeaway. Gasol got the putback with 0.5 seconds up, and that pretty much killed Oklahoma City Thunder. When he got that putback, I think the Thunder knew the game was over. Westbrook got very close, I think, with his basket at the end, but I think it ended up missing, hitting off a rim. So, that was a great series overall to me. It was good to see that quality basketball, going back and watching that quality basketball. So, my last takeaway and how I'll be ending the video, I'm just going to give you some of the 4 key lineups I got from the Lakers in this series. So, their starting lineup, Derek Fisher at the 1, Kobe Bryant at the 2, Ron Artest at the 3, Paul Gasol at the 4, Andrew Bynum at the 5. Their bench mainly consists of Farmer at the 1, Shannon Brown at the 2, Luke Walton at the 3 or 4. You could hold them at the 3, let's say, and Luke Walton at the 4. You really could mix them up. They usually kept Bynum or Gasol on at the 5. And then if they took, if Farmer or Brown was off, they kept Artest or Kobe in at the 2 or the 3. That's kind of how that worked. And then Walton would shift to the 2 or, just kind of look at that. Farmer, Brown was off, then Kobe Artest stayed in. And then Bynum or Gasol tried to stay in at the 5 for the most part. Their clutch time lineup for the most part at the end of games usually went to Derek Fisher at the 1, Kobe Bryant at the 2, Artest at the 3, Lamar Odom at the 4, Paul Gasol at the 5. That's kind of how all the games ended. Now, this is why I say it was their big / defensive lineup, and this is kind of what they went to, I think, at the end of Game 6. In that clutch game. So, at the end of Game 6 is the first time I kind of saw this lineup, and this was why I call their big / defense line. So, big because this was their height lineup, and then also defensive because this is what they use to make defenders shoot over their length and also defensively defend players. So, Kobe Bryant at the 1, Arnold Artest at the 2, Lamar Odom at the 3, Paul Gasol at the 4, Andrew Bynum at the 5. You took Derek Fisher off in this situation. So, those are the 4 lineups I got away from the series. Overall, like I said, the Lakers at times struggled, which I thought was more communication of anything, or players needing to be where they had to be in this series. That's where they really struggled. Outside of that, they played excellent. I should say excellent basketball. They're very good, tough-minded team mentality basketball. So the kind of basketball you were seeing from a team that endured and were champions. So when the tough moments came, because they had endured it the year before when they beat the Orlando Magic in that postseason run, they didn't panic when those tough moments came in situations in this series. And that's kind of why they won a lot of these close games for majority. I think they only lost 1 close game in the series. They won all other of the 3, and then there was 2 blowouts in the series. So, takeaway, Lakers looked good at times. They did struggle with offensive turnovers and defensive responsibilities, which I thought was both miscommunication reasons. But I thought it was an excellent series between them and the Thunder. It was nice to see a young Oklahoma City Thunder reminisce, and also see Kobe Bryant with the 2010 Lakers in this Game 1 series. So that's my takeaways from the series. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And this video, by the way, is motivated by Lakers 24 forever. Anyone gonna try to post a picture of them in the account that I got it from. But the reason I motivated because he had a picture the 2010 Lakers to 2020 Lakers a couple years ago. It took me forever to get to this series, so I'm doing it now. But that's what motivated me doing this what if series between 2010 and 2020 Lakers. But we gotta build it up before we get to the matchup and the final round. I gotta give you guys to tell the tape. So I'm gonna do my breakdown of each series on their path to the finals, and then once we get through the finals discussing them, I'll give you my telling the tape of how I think these two teams match and who I think would win a series between the two championship teams. So that being said, that's ending this 2010 Laker first round video. I think it's kind of long. Do my best to cut it down or fit in social media some kind of way. But that's my take on this video. Hope you all have a wonderful, blessed day. Stay safe and well and healthy like always. Keep doing the best you can do in the world. Keep doing good in the world. And have a blessed day and week, guys. Peace.